Hey everybody, my name is Chris Yee.
And I'm Joey Evans.
Today we're taking a look at this game called Battle for the Deep.
Battle for the Deep.
Now this, if you're not aware, is powered by Axis and Allies.
What?
So this is very similar. This is from Renegade Games Studios and Avalon Hill, who have partnered up. And just, I think a few months ago, they released Battle for the Arctic Circle, the G.I. Joe Axis and Allies inspired game. I took a look at that one, and multiple people told me I was not qualified to review an Axis and Allies game.
Ooh, shots fired.
Yes, despite having played it probably the most out of anyone in the office.
Yeah, by far, probably.
You played the original Axis and Allies, right?
I have, but I am also, just to go ahead and get to the end here, I am not probably qualified to review Axis and Allies because I like games, and I played Axis and Allies. And I'm like, you know what? I want to see what they do with this, which, let's be honest, a lot of people will do.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like this is a new universe and everything. It's a 90-minute game, 7-round game. So it's based off of some of the Axis and Allies systems. I'm going to give you the overview, and you'll see the similarities, but you'll also see the differences. But I'm going to just show you how to play this game as if you have no experience with it in the past, and then we'll go ahead and give you our thoughts.
Here's Axis and Allies Battle for the Deep set up on the table. This is a 2 to 4 player game. Each player is going to be dealt out one of these cards, or if you're playing with fewer than 4 players, then a single person might have to get both cards for a team. 1 and 3 are on the black team, and then 2 and 4 are on the yellow team. Once every player has gotten their player order number, they'll choose one of the 4 asymmetric factions that they'll choose to be playing this game and get those pieces. They'll set a starting base out here and then get some beginning units on the board. And then play is going to follow this structure here. For 7 rounds of the game, there is going to be these phases. On your turn, if you're player 1, you will do all of these phases. Then player 2 will go through all of these phases, player 3, then player 4. At which point you check for victory conditions at the end of the round. On your turn, you will first purchase reinforcements, and then you will place them into this reinforcement zone. They don't come out onto the board until later at the end of your turn when you deploy the reinforcements. These units all have different costs to them. You have 12 recruitment points from your base, plus any additional points from the spaces you control, which also are your victory points. You're trying to, on your team, control 30 victory points at the end of a round. Your victory points you control also add to your recruitment. So this faction over here, the whale faction, has their base 12 plus 5, so they can spend 17 recruitment points to add units onto the board. Units have different stats to them, so the attack value is what you must roll or lower to successfully hit during a combat. Defense is what you must roll or lower to successfully hit when you defend. Movement is how far those units may move on the board. And then lastly, there are keywords, special abilities. There are only 2 player aids in the game, and the special abilities are only explained in the rulebook, which is a slight downside. So, after purchasing reinforcements, you go to combat movement, where you can move your units into opposing spaces and fight. You then conduct combats. You do any non-combat movement, where you can reinforce areas. You then check your stack limits, making sure you don't have too many units in a single space. You then deploy those reinforcements that you brought out earlier to your home base. And lastly, you set your victory points for any new territories you controlled. You move this tracker up, and if at the end of all 4 players, any one team has 30 points combined between them, they'll win the game. Or once players 1 through 4 have gone, you'll move forward the round tracker, and at the end of 7 rounds, whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. So let's talk a little bit about combat movement and what combat looks like. So on a player's turn during their, after they've purchased reinforcements and done the other stuff, they'll go to combat move over here. They can move different units into a space. If they move into a space that has, say for example, no control marker, they get to control that new space, and they will add those 2 victory points at the end of their turn. If you move to a contested space, you must go into battle. One of the important things about battle is that different units have different special abilities. So when you look over here, for example, the swarm pieces over here, there are 3 of them. The miniature plus 2 of the chips here, meaning that there are 3 swarm pieces. Those have a special ability during combat called Frenzy. When they attack, and they only hit on 1s, but every time that they do hit, they get to re-roll those dice. So they have 2 hits here, and then you get to re-roll them again and add any additional hits, and you continue re-rolling all hits until you stop rolling 1s, or exploding dice as they're called. The whale over here has no combat ability, but it has the ability to host, meaning that it can move up to 3 of these swarm pieces with its longer movement. So the whale can move 2 spaces instead of the swarm's single movement. Lastly, the giant jellyfish has a first strike ability, so it hits on a 3, and if it rolls a hit on its combat, it rolls actually before the combat begins. This is important because it can take out one of the opponent units before the battle technically begins, because even though the attackers roll and then the defenders roll, the combat is considered to be simultaneous. So if the jellyfish gets a first hit, this one unit is taken out of the combat and the defenders won't roll for it. So now that all of the attackers have been rolled, all the defense will roll, and they will hit on their numbers and then assign casualties. And then the attacker may choose to press the attack or to retreat. Once the battle is done, when one side is completely removed, then control of a space might shift, and then at the end of a turn, you would move that player down victory points. This player would now control the space, and they would move up victory points for each of the spaces they took over. So that is pretty much what one player's turn looks like. You'll do that for players 1 through 4. Check the win condition, move the round tracker forward, and go on and so forth. So a simple area control game or skirmish type game. Let's go over some of the quick abilities here. So the Undersea Kingdom has basic units that have no special abilities, but the Dolphin Riders do have a hit and run, where they can move up to 3 steps during their movement, but if they move fewer than that, if they survive a combat, they may use the remaining movement they have after the combat is done. The Flying Fish Squadron have 4 movement and flight, meaning that they can move through contested zones, whereas other units must stop once they reach battle. The Protectors over here, the Giant Nautilus has jet, so if they're in a combat, instead of rolling for combat, they may jet. They may just scooch out of there. The Giant Lobster has pinch, so it can choose what units it takes out when attacking instead of the opposite player choosing their own casualties. And the War Turtle has thick shell, meaning that it can take a second hit. When it takes damage the first time, you tip it over to its side. If it takes a second damage, then it is removed. We talked about the Leviathan abilities over here. The sharks, however, are territorial, meaning that you can't end the round with more than 1 shark in the same territory. The denizens of the deep are the wild ones. The deep ones have no ability, but the Shoggoths can reanimate. The first Shoggoth killed in each battle will go back to this reinforcement zone and be redeployed next time the denizens of the deep deploy recruits. The tentacle here has the grab ability, which means that a tentacle can grab an enemy piece and hold on to it either as a meat shield for defense, or it does remove it from the battle if all the other players' pieces are removed. And the Necromancer has the Dark Ritual. It is expensive and has terrible stats, 1/1. It can only hit on 1s. However, every casualty that the denizens of the deep take is going to increase this stat during that battle. So there you go. That's the asymmetry of the units there, and that is Axis and Allies Battle for the Deep.
Starting off here, what do you want to talk about the theming here, right? Axis and Allies is typically a World War II kind of a game, right?
Here's the thing. I'm talking about like first impressions. When you see this Battle for the Deep, they kind of bury the Axis and Allies, because I grab the Axis and Allies and zombies. You know, I grabbed that one. Okay. I grab a lot of it. But normally it's like huge Axis and Allies, and this is more powered by Axis and Allies. So when you see this, you're like, oh, this looks fun, and then you see that small in the corner. Mm-hmm. I think that pulled me in at first, thinking maybe they do something a bit different with this, and I think they do.
They certainly do. Yeah. This, if you watch the review for the G.I. Joe Battle for the Arctic Circle, this is very similar to that 7-round game. The original Axis and Allies was not, right? The system here, be the first team to 30 points. You're going to split into teams of 2 and 2. It's a different game, right? Fairly similar to the Battle for the Arctic Circle, but I think this one's actually cleaner. And as much as I like the G.I. Joe theming, I really like this setting, this battle for the deep and the different aquatic factions and stuff.
This theming is just spot on. I mean, the biggest thing, there's so much to talk about with this, but the biggest thing are the asymmetric factions. The whole thing is you have to lean into how that faction battles. Not only that, it all makes sense with theme. You know, I mean, you've got, I forgot the turtle guy with his thick shell, how he's the one that takes 2 hits.
Right.
To bust through. And then you loved your pinchers.
Oh my God, yeah, the lobsters, right, with the pinch ability.
Yes.
So, once again, this is similar to other games, Battlefield Arctic Circle, the other like special abilities that different units have. But because of the theming on this one, I found all of those are really clean. The lobsters have ability called pinch. They get to choose their casualty instead of the other person being able to choose, well, I'm going to get rid of my weakest unit, right? No, if you hit with the lobster, son, you go for the big one. Right in the jugular. It's hilarious. I love that.
It's funny how it replaces a heavy theme with just fun, you know. And like for mine, I think I had one, the swarm or whatever, that they only hit on a 1, but they could explode. You know, exploding dice. You hit a 1, you roll again. So you boom, 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 and the swarm can attach to a whale, and the whale can take them with them. And then I've got the shark who will go into places. He's territorial, so you can't have 2 sharks in one area unless they're in combat. And he attacked with a 4. But he defends with a 1, so he's just a sitting duck, but he's great on attacking. It's little things like that if you put into an actual real war game, it would be a bit more of a heavy theme. But in this, it's just fun. There are so many times you just laugh and go, that was good.
Yeah,
you know?
This one is definitely more of like a rollicking good time kind of thing, right? You're not going to hit those ones very often with your swarm creatures, but when they hit, and then they hit again, and then they hit again. I mean, it doesn't matter. If you're the person getting smacked down by it, you're laughing because what are the odds of that? Well, they're very calculable. But when it happens, it's so fun.
It is.
Yeah. The game doesn't outstay its welcome.
Nope.
Right? I think that the way that the map is set up is very smart, right? Where you have to start your base on one of the 3 victory point spaces. And then there's like one very large 4 victory point space in the middle. And you better believe that Joey's going to send his sharks right there.
100%. My sharks are coming for you no matter where you are. You will kill them afterwards, but not before they take some of your guys with them. And they will.
Yeah. The way that this encourages... Yeah, it encourages teamwork and everything, right?
Yep.
Because you can kind of act as a buffer for your teammates. So, yeah, Joey has 1 shark with awful defense holding down a high victory point space. And then I just put like... this thing right in the way, and the other person goes, oh, I can't reach that one now.
That's it.
Except for the one ability, the flying fish that can jump through combat zones. There's so much laid out really well. Once everyone understands everyone understands their factions, there's no like, remind me what my power does. No, they all make sense thematically really well.
They do, and there's a nice player aid that you see it, and at a glance, once you read it, you're like, okay, got it. You know, some of them are pretty easy, like First Strike, things like that. Other ones you'll read, and you're like, okay, now I get it. Now, the only one that was a little bit more convoluted was the Necromancer faction or whatever. But that's always seems to be, in any battle game, the more involved faction. It always tends to be, for me, it's like, okay, that's a bit heavier, you know?
Right, or the more casualties you take, the stronger these certain units get. I love that, like, black magic kind of stuff. And so it's fun that they have, like, a Cthulhuoid faction in this game, which is something you would not see in the original Axis and Allies, for good reason, right?
Right.
This is just kind of its own game. It's quicker, it's punchier, there's a lot, fewer nuances and detail, but it's okay because this is just one of those kind of Nexus ops or Risk. It's a little closer to Risk level, but with real strategy behind it instead of just sit in Australia.
Exactly. And then also I like, as far as like how to do more troops and things, the chips, how you can kind of see as you take them out, you're move those chips and you see them go down. I like that look to it too. It also doesn't muddy up the map as much.
I agree. Yeah. So overall, there's a lot of praise being said about this. I do wish that the player aid gave like a small little reminder about some of those abilities, but as I said, I found that they were all very easy to recognize. I want to make a quick comparison to the Battle for the North Pole, the other powered by Axis game I played recently. Yeah, the Santa one.
Yeah.
I find that one of the major improvements here is that in the G.I. Joe one, the powers are kind of locked into teams, and I think that was by design. And in this one, you randomize those cards, you figure out who your teammate's going to be out of the 4 people, and then each person then chooses their factions, which means that you can have different team-ups of these abilities, and you have to play towards that. I think that's a huge improvement. I also think that the map is laid out better. I had some issues with the balance of the G.I. Joe one, and I don't with this, because you have more of a clear view right away. Say, okay, this is how we have to play this combo of factions against this combo of factions, and then they'll be different next game. I love that. So I think this is an improvement compared to that one, for sure.
No, I haven't played that, but I agree. I agree as far as like the way it's put together.
Yeah. So, final thoughts and score-wise. You want to go first?
Before I go to score, I will say one thing I was to say with that, the G.I. Joe one. What took me away from that, and some of them, is the tag Access and Allies. I'm like, okay, it's going to be another Access and Allies game. I think that's going to be a hindrance with this going forward. If this was just called Battle for the Deep, I think more people will be like, okay, I want to try that, because they've played Access and Allies. This one is so different. I kind of wish we just focused on this. So jumping to score, it's one of those, after we played it, first of all, we laughed so much at the end when the exploding dice were hitting and you're like, we're losing, but man, what a way to go, you know? It's incredible. So I'm coming in at 8.5 on this, and I can see it going higher, because it's one of those, when I walked away, I thought, I want to play it again, because the factions on this are really, really fun. And I see this as being a light level war game. I'm not much, although I play these, I don't gravitate to the heavier war games, because I like those moments where people are standing up and you're rolling, you're like, yes, 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 yes. So this has that. So I was going to come in at an 8, but I come into 8.5 because it's one of those I will play again, and I can see it's coming out at a con. 4 people, we played at 4, and I think 4 is just great, and be able to mix and match those factions, which I didn't know that about the G.I. Joe one, how the factions are chosen different.
The special powers, by team.
I like different style of team ups. I think that's going to be a really cool little synergy that you can put together with this. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Component wise, also, this is an improvement over the G.I. Joe. I made fun of how the components actually looked versus the advertisement renders in the review for that one.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah. So this is closer. This is more spot on to what they should be.
This one is just a better production all around.
Okay.
I'm giving this one an 8. I really have fun with this. And the thing that holds me back from maybe a higher score would just be, that it is still going to be a bit of a time investment for what you get out of the game. If you play the full 7 rounds, it'll be a touch long. And that's my biggest complaint about the game, meaning I have almost nothing else but positive to say about it. Yeah. This feels like that Nexus Ops type of game, which is what I want from this, right? There's heavier, deeper war games out there. Good, right? People even call Axis and Allies, the full, Battle Masters version, a light war game.
Which is insane.
So this is baby weight. This is featherweight, right?
Yes.
But for what it is, it delivers very well. I want to play more of the factions. I want to see more of the team ups, and I want to see like, oh, okay, well, we have this going on. How do we respond in like kind and stuff? And just, this is not what I'm going to pull out all the time. But when I do, and when I'm in the mood for that scrappy kind of fighting game like this one scratches that itch really well.
And you hit a good point to where when you have those different abilities, someone else hits you with something, you're like, whoa. How'd you do that? And then you're like, I want to play again with that guy. Yeah, and I love that feeling.
Oh, I had a really good unit, and the tentacle just like grabbed it. Uh-oh.
You were like, ooh, my whole plan's out the window. Yeah, so that was great.
Yeah, so a lot of fun. And a high score of an 8.5, giving Battle for the Deep Seal of Excellence from us here at the Dice Tower. So thanks for coming out to this review. Let us know if you've played this one, what you think, or if you're going to check it out. Thanks for coming out. My name's Chris Yeh.
And I'm Joy Evans.
And have fun battling in the deep.
Pinchers.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassett.
It's over, Chris. It's over, Chris.
Maybe just our magnanimity.
Not a word.
Magnanimity.
Nope.
Anonymity.
You're there, almost.
Prepare. Preparation A. B, and C were all very good plans. D, E, F, and G, not so good. But the next preparation.
I was like, where's it go to this?